The new moon in Sagittarius on Tuesday, December 12th, conjoins Mars, inspiring us to act in line with our ideals. It also, however, squares Neptune, suggesting a need to proceed with caution and avoid being overly zealous, dogmatic, and sacrificial as you take action. Watch out for your beliefs taking you in the wrong direction. I'm here to tell you more and break this transit for all 12 signs. My name is Anastasia. I'm a traditional Western astrologer specializing in natal, relationship, and predictive readings. If you like my work, please support me by leaving a like or a comment, subscribing, and pressing that notification bell. It helps YouTube algorithm show my video to more people, helps my channel grow, so thank you for that. You also have the option of showing your appreciation by saying thank you and buying me a coffee. And if you are interested to know what 2024 has in store for you and you would like a personal reading, you now have the unique opportunity to save $20 on a live reading or save $40 by getting a recorded reading. There are links and coupon codes down below. Additionally, visit my website to pick up your 2024 astrology planner. I worked on it most of 2023. It has 225 pages filled with astrological insights, guides, journaling prompts, planetary transit information, and so much more that can help you maximize the year to come. This is an absolute must tool for anyone interested in astrology and anyone who has seen how the energy in the sky reflects what's happening with us here on Earth. On my website, you can also find my magical candles and oils. For example, this is my Sunlight in a Jar 2 candle. This was created when the sun was in Leo, and it represents solar properties of that moment. This could be perfect for anyone born with their sun in Libra or Aquarius, which is a more difficult solar position, meaning that expressing ego, expressing confidence can come. It's a bit harder for you because you're so aware of society. For anyone born with their sun, you're so aware of the needs of other people, so it's harder to sort of put yourself in front of people and be like, yeah, but look at me. Perfect for anyone born with their sun in the 12th house, 8th house, or 6th house, which are the darker houses, or if you have any of the difficult Saturnian aspects to your sun, or if you have your sun in Pisces right now and Saturn is in Pisces, so you might benefit from this solar candle. So check out my website for that, and thank you for listening as I get through all of the announcements. So let's talk about the upcoming new moon in Sagittarius. Like I said, it occurs on Tuesday, December 12th at 6:31 p.m. Eastern. New moon is the sun and moon conjoining, coming together and starting a new cycle. This one occurs at 20 degrees, 39 minutes Sagittarius. So if you are someone who has placements, your ascendant, your descendant, your midheaven IC, or any of your planets between 17 to 23 degrees, Sagittarius, Gemini, Virgo, and Pisces, you're likely to feel this energy the most, but we will all feel it, right? Sagittarius is the sign of acting in line with our ideals, right? It's a very growth-oriented sign. Sagittarius is Jupiter ruled. Not only it's Jupiter ruled, but it's young version of Jupiter. So it's very much going after things. If you have any Sagittarius placements in your chart, please share what kind of ideals you have and whether you resonate with needing to have a passion project all the time. I have my Saturn and my Uranus in Sagittarius, and I definitely feel like I always need to have some kind of mission and something to aspire towards. Like, I really struggle sort of sitting still and just enjoying things as they are, which is both, I think, my problem, but also strength. So I'm curious how your Sagittarius placements manifest if you have them. But it's Jupiter ruled. It's an idealistic sign. It's a driven sign. So here we are very focused on taking action, pursuing our goals. It's also a very philosophical sign. So the new beginnings in faith, the new beginnings in spirituality, things like starting to meditate, starting to do yoga, starting like learning about yourself, booking trips, right? Sagittarius likes to adventure, and adventure can be of your mind by starting new book series, or it could be an adventure where you're actually going on a journey somewhere. So there is a conjunction to Mars. It is separating, so it's a pretty sort of far away conjunction, but it's still, there's co-presence of Mars. And Mars, it's interesting because we had Mars Cazimi, right, in November, and Mars is still really close to the sun. So the new moon we're getting is still co-present with Mars. And Mars brings urgency. It brings kind of even more passion, more desire to get going, to get things started, right? On the more negative or the more challenging aspect here is a square to Neptune. And the square to Neptune is an applying aspect. So this is the aspect that's actually getting stronger at the time of the new moon. And on the positive, right, Neptune can act as the spark. It can be the reason you get inspired. It can be creatively very fulfilling, right? It can sort of stimulate your artistic spirit, ignite your desire to act. Neptune is very altruistic. It's very socially minded. So caring for other people, wanting to take on projects that help other people, you know, desire to connect and express sort of your generosity towards others is likely. But because it's a square, and a square has a more complicated nature versus a trine or a sextile, you can easily find yourself in a position where you're either too sort of caught up in the moment to a point that you're becoming too pushy with your beliefs and too zealous and too sort of, you know, blind to everything else. Even if you're acting with the goal of helping the community, you might sort of forget about the community and about the needs of unique individuals because you just feel like you have this perfect vision. There's also a danger of getting carried away to a point that you sign up to join some kind of cult, right? Always, I feel like with Neptune, there's a little bit of a possibility of like joining a cult, your ideals gone wrong. Once again, if we like keep thinking about it on the positive, this could be the time when you realize where you're being too sacrificial, where you're being too zealous, where you have your beliefs that are maybe destructive and unhealthy. Neptune can bring dissolution of boundaries, dissolution of walls, and kind of everything we put between ourselves and other people, everything we use to solidify and build up our ego. So Neptune with this new moon could also create a sense of, on some level, frustration because you are trying to understand yourself but maybe struggling because there's the boundaries between you and others are weaker, which could be, once again, which could be quite helpful for connecting with other people, helping other people, getting inspired, kind of listening to your dreams and your fantasies and bringing forth those messages into real world. It could be very spiritually fulfilling if you're aware. Some of the other things that are going on here is the new moon is also trining North Node in Aries. So it's quite aligned with the current planetary energy of letting go of Libran principles of being too accommodating, of being too sort of indirect, right? Of focusing on other people too much. And with Aries, it's in line with the Aryan energy of taking risks, of being brave, of going after the things you want, of just do it type energy. There is also Jupiter, the ruler of this new moon, trining Mercury at the time, which I quite like. The exact trine is happening on the 7th of December and then again on the 18th of December. So it's sort of hanging for a while as Mercury is basically going retrograde the next day after the new moon. But Jupiter in a trine to Mercury should be quite supportive of our analytical mind aligning with our spiritual mind, right? Because Jupiter likes to unite, it likes to see big concepts, and Mercury likes to focus on the details. So we have that awareness, that dual awareness that is both seeing the big picture but not forgetting about the little details. And another important thing to mention here is the new moon happens on the precipice of Mercury retrograde. Mercury literally is going retrograde the next day. And when it goes retrograde, it's moving away from Capricorn back into Sagittarius. So Sagittarius new moon is significant, right? Because we are going to hang out in the Sagittarian space for the entirety of December. And then in January, as well as Mercury still in Sagittarius. So looking at our beliefs, looking at our inspiration, and I think separating outdated, unhealthy, illusory, sort of, you know, like anything that's Neptunian, that is maybe deception and illusion, shedding that away, but also connecting with the healthy Neptune, which is desire to help the community, desire to connect with other people. And I think that the Mercury retrograde coming up here and moving from Capricorn into Sagittarius, Capricorn is very build oriented, right? Capricorn is like, well, we have the plan, let's stick to it, let's build the structure. And Mercury going from Capricorn into Sagittarius is very much suggestive of the fact that maybe something in the structure is not working right. Maybe we need to go back to the drawing board and think of the reasons why we even started building, right? If it's the house, right? Like you've been focusing on putting in like the biggest fridge or putting in a giant pool, and maybe with Mercury going retrograde, you realize that the goal was to bring kind of family together and create a quiet, happy place. So maybe you should focus on like having a bigger living room or having a meditation space for yourself so that you can be a peaceful family member who then in turn helps the rest of the family connect with their peace and their ease within. So it's an interesting new moon, right? It's still new beginnings, but I think the new beginnings in a square to Neptune is suggestive of like either getting inspired, but watching out for your beliefs going wrong, taking you in the wrong direction. Maybe being more aware that you might be not having all the facts since we are on the brink of Mercury retrograde, and just knowing that, you know, get inspired, but do not make such major decisions right at the time of the new moon. So let's break it down for all 12 signs and see what this could be about for you. So for my lovely Aries risings, there's a new moon in the 9th house and a square to Neptune in the 12th. And the new moon in the 9th house, the ruler is Jupiter in the 2nd. So Jupiter in the 2nd wants to either make an investment, or it's very driven towards having financial security. Jupiter in the 2nd house could be very much, you know, like sort of seeking validation, seeking stability, seeking some kind of groundedness. It's Jupiter and Taurus in charge of this new moon. And then the new moon is happening in the 9th house. And 9th house is the place of beliefs. It's the place of education. It's the place of travel. It's the place of writing, publishing, and sort of being the person who shares ideas. So I think on some level you are driven by seeking stability, but you're looking to upgrade your knowledge. You're looking to maybe return back to school. Maybe you're realizing that there's some exams that you need to take in order to get you where you're trying to go. Maybe you're starting to write, or you're discovering yourself and seeing yourself as a teacher, as a person who shapes other people's minds. The square to Neptune in the 12th brings topics of spirituality, mental health, healing. So perhaps either becoming a person who guides others from darkness into light. 12th house is the dark house. So becoming a healer, becoming a guide for other people. But the square to Neptune in the 12th could also be a question of what needs to be released. 12th house is the place of losses on some level. It's the place of being washed away at sea without any material possessions, without anything that is tying you to the world, and you're sort of very honest with yourself. So the square to Neptune in the 12th to me is suggesting, especially with the new moon in the 9th house, right? Like, of course, the new moon in the 9th house could be very literal in a sense of like, okay, I'm taking an exam, or I'm signing up for a course, or I'm moving to a foreign place. But it could also be very spiritual and philosophical, and like with the 12th house Neptune, where are you holding yourself back? Where are you sacrificing yourself? What beliefs you have that are destructive around money, around teaching, relationships, anything like that? If you had to wipe the slate clean, where would you find yourself, right? Like, perhaps there is something you really want to do that you're holding yourself back because you're worried about not having enough money. So, of course, having financial stability is important, but do not sacrifice your dreams. Do not sacrifice or lose yourself in the process, right? Try to find a good balance and pay attention to your subconscious, to your intuitive messages, to the feelings that pop up around this time, even like thoughts about the past or some kind of like anger, frustration, excitement, memories that pop up that can be very helpful at this time and perhaps reflective of what you're going through. Let me know how this resonates down below. For Taurus rising, there's a new moon in the 8th house and a square to Neptune in the 11th, while Jupiter, the ruler of this new moon, is in the 1st house. And you are, as a Taurus rising, you know, with Jupiter being in your 1st house, ruling this new moon, you are very much driven towards new beginnings. With Jupiter in the 1st house, you're trying to present a different version of yourself to the world. You might be still very fresh on that journey, right? Jupiter goes into your 1st house every 12 years, but then it takes 12 years to come back. So you're planting seeds, you are reinventing yourself, you're trying to figure out a different public image, a different appearance, a different role in the world. And the role could be teacher, mentor, parent, guide. So what's the new moon in the 8th house has to do with any of that? 8th house is the place of other people's resources. It's the place of you being at the mercy of other people, or you being in need of something other people have. And that could be your partner's finances and their credit card, or that could be the connection you need to open a yoga studio, for example. So the new moon in the 8th house will suggest a need to start new relationships, to start new agreements, or maybe even potentially free yourself from old agreements. The square to Neptune in the 11th is interesting because on one hand, it could be suggestive of you getting like overly excited about this new project, new dream, new possibility, new partnership, but perhaps forgetting to move carefully. So if you're signing a contract with someone and you're starting a partnership, make sure it's like fair, right? And you're not signing a contract and then realizing that they're getting 80% of your business while you get 20. So there could be a little bit of like frustration there. Of course, the new moon suggests a need to compromise. There is a need to come to an agreement and maybe figure things out in terms of money, even asking for what you deserve, right? Like sort of Sagittarius is very direct energy. So perhaps you're finding yourself in a position of asking for a raise or asking for your friends to treat you differently. I think you're very much looking for a better balance in your relationships as you're venturing on that new personal journey. And trying to find a better flow in your relationships, trying to find a better financial strategy and have more fair and balanced relationships. And please let me know how this resonates. What kind of personal journey are you on with Jupiter being in your 1st house if you are a Taurus rising? For Gemini risings, there is a new moon in the 7th house and a square to Neptune in the 10th, with Jupiter being in your 12th house. Jupiter in the 12th is quite interesting, right? Because you are in this year-long period of seeking rest, seeking spiritual fulfillment, seeking some kind of pursuit that is not only perhaps financially rewarding, but also rewarding to your mental health, rewarding to your spiritual self, right? And so the new moon in the 7th house and a square to Neptune in the 10th brings your attention to relationships and partnerships you're in, and how they are either supporting your professional goals or maybe somehow hindering your professional goals. And that could be a romantic relationship. That could be a professional relationship, right? Like new moon in the 7th house is very much about starting a new relationship, starting a new partnership, signing a contract, going on like a new chapter of your relationship. The square to Neptune in the 10th is interesting because it's like either I feel like you're getting excited about this new partnership, but be mindful, it's a square. So chances are that you can get like excited about something and forget to read the fine print. Or there's also a possibility that you're sacrificing something, or you're being called to sacrifice something for the higher mission, for the relationship, for some kind of goal. And that's where you really need to be careful, because you don't want to lose yourself. I keep using this word in context of Neptune, but like you don't want to compromise who you are for the sake of a relationship or for the sake of the partnership. You don't want to keep putting your needs on the back burner. And of course, maybe you're actually starting quite an exciting spiritual connection or spiritual partnership. But I just think be careful of something that looks too good to be true, because this new moon is really asking you to compromise both professionally and in career. But I think if you stay patient and know that we are in this longer period, Mercury, your chart ruler, is about to go retrograde. If you trust that you are not meant to have the answers now, but you might get them later in January, then I think that's the way to proceed. And please let me know how this resonates in the comments below. For lovely Cancer risings, there's a new moon in the 6th house in a square to Neptune in the 9th, ruled by Jupiter in your 11th. So Jupiter being in your 11th house and ruling this new moon is all about establishing a different role for yourself in the world. So you are on this 1-year-long journey that started in May, lasts until May 25, 2024. To know more, get my planner to see all the dates. Another plug of my creation. So Jupiter in your 11th house is suggesting of you wanting to change your community, right? Change your role in the community. Jupiter is pretty happy in the 11th house. It's house joy. So you're discovering a different role. You're kind of more interested in being more social or being more kind of influential, right? And the new moon in the 6th house is suggesting a need to deal with problem solving. The new moon in the 6th could be the indicator of you going on this like long journey, right? 6th house is just the grind and the problem solving and step by step taking action. It's a place where you work really hard and you're kind of, it's like the place of blood, sweat, and tears. And the square to Neptune in the 9th is suggesting that maybe what you're committing to involves travel, moving, involves education, going back to school, involves writing a novel. It might also involve a mindset change. Perhaps you are called to look at the things you believe differently and ask whether they are supportive, right? Like what kind of ideas do you have around work, around sacrifice, around compromise? Like where are you doing too much of it or where are you not doing enough, right? Perhaps sometimes in order to get a different position in the world and establish yourself as this influential member of community, you need to sacrifice a little bit. But you want to be really careful that you're not around this time, that you're not kind of signing off your soul to this very, very hard, difficult project that you will be working on. Make sure that it's like, you have some control over the work that you're doing, not that it has all of the control over you. But it could be a great opportunity, I think, right now to look rationally at your structures around not only those kind of bigger topics like work, sacrifice, and relationships, but also like, you know, 6th house is everyday life. It's the way you, what you eat, it's how you exercise, how you take care of yourself. Do you meditate? Do you do yoga? Like, how can you be your own friend as you're venturing on this new chapter in your life, right? And make sure that the little things are not slipping through the cracks, that you have good boundaries around physical health and your well-being. And please let me know down below how this resonates and whether you're feeling this energy already. For Leo risings, there's a new moon in the 5th house and a square to Neptune in the 8th, ruled by Jupiter in the 10th. So the ruler being in the 10th house is suggestive of you this year, right? Starting with May 2023 until May 2024, Jupiter has been in your 10th house and you are on the path of professional growth and perhaps finding more joy in work, right? Especially with this new moon being ruled by Jupiter in the 10th, you're looking at questions of pleasure, play, creativity, art, and perhaps wondering whether there is enough of it in your life. There might be, like, once again, some kind of, you know, connection to career. Is there enough? Do you need to change jobs? Do you need to perhaps start side projects that allow for more fulfillment? I really like the belief that you don't have to expect your job to fulfill your 100% as long as you have other interests, right? It's awesome for some of us who have careers and, you know, like ability to work with the kind of pursue things that we love to do, right? I would, before I even started studying astrology, I would talk about astrology without much prompt, right? So, but I think so if you're, you know, if you are in this position, great. The new moon in the 5th house could be a sign of starting new projects. If you are in not like the happiest work position, this could be your invitation to perhaps either change the work situation or change your life to add more pleasure. The square to Neptune in the 8th is, of course, could be like inspirational and suggestive of new partnerships. It could also be a sign that maybe you're making some sacrifices and compromises when it comes to money. Like, you know, maybe you're dependent on someone and you cannot be fully free with your choices. Like, you and your boss have, maybe they're your parent, right? And you cannot sort of step away and make free decisions. Or the new moon in the 5th house could also be the time you get pregnant, and then you're dependent on your partner for resources as, you know, as you become a parent. So there's new beginnings and there's a strong desire to have more fun and pleasure professionally and personally. But I think the square to Neptune is really calling you to be careful signing things, to be careful agreeing to things, especially when it comes to you owe me, I owe you, because you might realize that you're sort of getting yourself more tangled up in the karmic dynamics instead of separating yourself and freeing yourself and finding more pleasure in your life. Please let me know how this resonates down below. For Virgo risings, there's a new moon in the 4th house and a square to Neptune in the 7th, with Jupiter, the ruler, being in the 9th. So Jupiter being in the 9th is an indicator of you being in this phase of life where you are growing. You're changing what you believe in. You are potentially becoming more influential and more confident in your knowledge, right? And the new moon in the 4th house is all about home, family, and living situation. So perhaps your newfound knowledge or your desire to change things and open them up is spiraling and kind of spiraling downwards into your 4th house and affecting your family dynamics. Perhaps Jupiter in the 9th has brought some kind of teacher into your life or brought you more in touch with philosophy, or even just you know, slowly but surely, like naturally you have changed your beliefs. So the new moon in the 4th house is suggesting that you are needing to rethink your family dynamics. You're needing to rethink what guides you, what kind of principles you have, and perhaps how they help you or how they block you, right? There's also a square to Neptune in the 7th house. So you're also very much looking how your family and living situation ties with your relationship, how your childhood and your inherited philosophies affect your romantic life, right? Like, are they helping or are they hindering? Is it, do things you believe and sort of repeat in your relationship, do they come from you or do they come from you watching your parents doing it? So needing to make adjustments, needing to also kind of like navigate relationships and living situation very carefully, as maybe you are investing into a mortgage together, or you're getting ready to move in with your partner and you're figuring out certain disagreements you have, certain differences of values, and trying to find better compromise. For some of you, this new moon could be, like I mentioned, moving with the partner, but also like renovating, selling a home, welcoming a new family member, maybe being more direct with your family and like asserting your newfound confidence and knowledge. And please let me know how this resonates in the comments below if you are a Virgo rising. My lovely Libra risings, there's a new moon in your 3rd house and a square to Neptune in the 6th. And there is Jupiter, the ruler of this new moon, in your 8th house. And Jupiter being in the 8th house is suggestive of you being in this year-long cycle of establishing better partnerships, paying off debts, establishing better like resources and agreements with other people. And so on this path of establishing better relationships and agreements, the new moon is urging you to speak up, to communicate about something that is important, to start new projects, to start a business, to express yourself and express your passions. But the square to Neptune is suggestive of like over-sacrificing, overdoing, or like dealing with some kind of health, work, other people's problems that are preventing you from fully spreading your wings and flying away to do that new pursuit and new project. So needing to deal with like, you know, the simple questions of like, is there enough time? Is there enough freedom? Is there enough health and energy you have in order to pursue these new projects? And perhaps needing to let something go, right? With Neptune in the 6th house. Make sure you're not just being, because like 6th house being in Pisces for you is already not super boundary driven house, right? But like having Neptune there, having Neptune be involved with this new moon, it's like you're getting this new idea. You're getting inspired. You're getting like, okay, I'm gonna like start this new project, or I'm gonna, you know, start a podcast, a blog, or sign up for like a yoga class, or change my schedule, whatever it might be. And with Neptune in the 6th, it's you're like just saying yes to too many things. So really be mindful, really be direct. It's okay to say no to a sibling who is, you know, being sort of asking you for too much, and you can always express yourself with kindness that you Libra are capable for, and you know, charm that you're capable of. So yeah, like trying to figure out where you need to say no, trying to figure out where you need to have a better professional flow, better boundaries around work. Like, you know, not everything, you don't have to do every single thing. Basically, you can also give responsibilities to other people. If you are a Scorpio rising, there's a new moon in your 2nd house and it squares Neptune in the 5th. So the new moon in the 2nd house, the ruler is also in your 7th house. So Jupiter is in your 7th house, suggesting that there is new beginnings in your life. You're in this year-long cycle that started in May 2023, lasts until late May 2024. You're in a cycle of like new beginnings in relationships, new beginnings in business. You're starting something, right? Like maybe even birthing something with Saturn and Neptune in the 5th house, a real baby or a creative baby. And the new moon in the 2nd house is urging you to look at the resources and to maybe look at the strategies you have around money and your beliefs around money, right, as you are venturing on this new path in your life. If you are getting pregnant, right, like how do you need to organize the money that's coming in? How do you need to maybe rely on your partner a little bit more to support you? If you're starting a business, what kind of, how are you going to be making money from it? How are you going to be investing money? So there's a lot of questions with this new moon around resources and maybe like new opportunities, new investments, new beginnings when it comes to your finances. Second house is also the place of self-worth, and it's the place of values. So I think you're also trying to figure out how you can perhaps align with somebody else's values, right? The square to Neptune in the 5th house brings up topics of love, topics of creative projects, topics of children. So needing to find better alignment and better, even like what are your beliefs around, what are your beliefs when it comes to parenthood? What are your beliefs when it comes to money and paychecks? Like, do you expect to make and keep 100% of your paycheck, or do you feel like ready to reinvest? The new moon can definitely bring, I think, like new financial opportunities and new projects that can increase your income. But the square to Neptune in the 5th is just like something, I think, like something is either draining you or getting you inspired, but maybe it's hard to balance. And that something is a child, a baby creative project, right? Or a romantic relationship. And you are called to build better boundaries around money, around parenthood, around love and connections. And please let me know how this resonates. What are you working on? Has there been any major romantic developments in the last year, I think? If you are a Sagittarius rising, there's a new moon in your 1st house and a square to Neptune in the 4th house, and the ruler is Jupiter in the 6th. So the ruler and your chart ruler, Jupiter being in the 6th, is suggestive of you being in the year-long cycle of professional growth, personal kind of focus on your health and focus on your diet and focus on exercise and sort of committing to growing and bettering yourself, right? And the new moon in the 1st house is the time to reinvent who you are and how you present yourself to the world. It's all about you and your personal happy birthday. So happy birthday, Sagittarius rising, or if you're a Sagittarius sun, happy birthday to you. But it is, it's like you're a Sag rising and there is a new moon in your 1st house shining light on like the next year to come. How do you want to present yourself? How do you want to look? What kind of projects you want to start? What kind of exercise routine do you want to bring into your life, right? Mars is right there, so it's energizing you. It's encouraging you to go on trips, to start new projects, to start exercising and like sort of, bring yourself forth into the world as a new you. The square to Neptune is interesting because the square to Neptune can be inspiring. So there might be some kind of inspiration around family, around maybe creating a better life for them, around moving, redesigning, redecorating, even finding more of a sense of comfort and belonging in your community or within your family. But the square to Neptune can also be a sign that you're separating from the family, that on some level you are realizing that maybe they're holding you back, that maybe their beliefs are outdated, the way they see you is kind of undermining you and you're needing to separate your goals from them. But be careful here because this energy, Neptune, is quite boundless, so it can spill out of control to a point that you cut ties with family members or you like upset them or you be too direct and too sort of blunt with them. So you got to be careful and look for healthy ways of separation and make sure that you're not hurting people in the process. And please let me know how this resonates in the comments below. If you are a Capricorn rising, there's a new moon in your 12th house and a square to Neptune in the 3rd, and the ruler is Jupiter in the 5th. So with Jupiter being in the 5th and ruling this new moon, you are have been for the last 6 months and will be for the next approximately 6 months, you are in this period of seeking pleasure, seeking joy, rethinking your relationship to good times, rethinking your relationship to sex and imagination and creativity, right? And the new moon in the 12th house, to me, is suggestive of a need to... 12th house is always your blind spot. So there's always either a need to examine what's self-defeating. You know, have you been taking your desire for pleasure too far? Have you been partying too much and kind of losing trust of your friends because you show up drunk? Or have you been not sort of, you know, have you maybe been too sort of uptight and not letting yourself let go? What's interesting is, it's really interesting that there is a square to Neptune in the 3rd house. So the square to Neptune in the 3rd house, to me, is suggestive of some kind of conversations you're having. And perhaps the self-defeating tendencies really have to do with communication, whether that is the way you talk to yourself or the way you talk to other people, right? There might be a need to bring something from the subconscious, from your blind spot of the 12th house into the real world. And maybe the things you've been thinking that you haven't been saying are now getting ready to come out. You're getting ready to announce them and present them and sort of be honest. You know, this is how your actions make me feel. This is what I desire. This is what's important to me. Because once again, Jupiter in the 5th house really just wants you to have fun. It wants you to have a good time. So why would you sacrifice what you need in order to avoid sort of rocking the boat? Of course, be careful as well, right? Don't just like go cursing people out. you gotta have a good balance. But you know, the 12th house new moon can encourage you to take better care of your mental health, to take better care of your spiritual life, to meditate, to journal, to make sure that you have, with Neptune in the 3rd, that you have good routines and good practices around communication, around schedule, right? Like, where are you compromising your well-being for the sake of siblings, neighbors, other people in your life, scheduling issues. Finally, the new moon in the 12th could also, I think, be very inspired, especially the square to Neptune in the 3rd house, and bring perhaps a need to tell a story of your past or your challenges or your difficulties you've been through, and write a novel or write a screenplay or start a blog. I can see here as well. And please let me know, if you're a Capricorn rising, how this resonates. For Aqua risings, there's a new moon in the 11th house and a square to Neptune in the 2nd, and the ruler is Jupiter in the 4th house. So Jupiter in your 4th house is suggesting that you are growing and focusing on your place of living, family, and your comfort and security. So Jupiter went into Taurus in May 2023, stays in Taurus until May 2024. So this is like a year-long cycle of you both externally and physically trying to land and find a home, but also internally trying to find more comfort in the world, right? And the new moon in the 11th house is perhaps encouraging you to focus on relationships and start new relationships and start new partnerships and new group projects that are supportive, that are aligned with you. The square to Neptune in the 2nd could be suggestive that there is like a bit of a money problem or a bit of a conflict of values that you either need to work through or work around. So, you know, like if we are talking about community, right? Like maybe you have friends and then the square to Neptune in the 2nd, they owe you money, or you have like a major disagreement in terms of you believe A, they believe B, and they're very adamant about their belief. So needing to compromise, or needing, even in some extreme cases, maybe needing to let go of a friendship because you feel like it's not aligned with what you believe. But just make sure that you're not getting too zealous, that you're not getting too sort of dogmatic and, you know, like narrow-minded about the way you see things, because you don't want to find yourself in that type of situation. If you are in a more, you know, like if you do have like a little bit of a confusing relationship with friends, or things maybe feel a little bit difficult and like they do owe you money. The new moon in the 11th house in Sagittarius could be encouraging of you speaking up and being honest and being like, hey, you know, I'd like our relationship to be different. Even if it's not about money, even if it's about the way you get treated, right? Because Jupiter in the 4th wants you to feel comfortable. And as, you know, as the new moon activates your 11th house, I think the question is like, how can you feel more comfortable in your friendships? How can you feel more comfortable in your relationships? Just be mindful, like be mindful of like, you know, not going too far, because the square to Neptune in the 2nd is just like interesting. It's, I think there's a bit of a danger of like spending money you don't have, helping a friend out of the kindness of your heart, but then that's costing you and the friend doesn't appreciate you, or just, yeah, like do not, you know, do not like sign off your, or like write a check that you cannot cash. Just beware here, and like look at this new moon as an invitation to be more honest with your friendships and build comfort through vulnerability and sharing how you truly feel or what you're truly going through. Please let me know how this resonates down below if you're an Aquarius rising. Now, if you are a Pisces rising, there's a new moon in your 10th house of career and a square to Neptune in the 1st. And the ruler of the new moon is Jupiter in the 3rd. And so with Jupiter being in the 3rd, this started in May 2023, lasts until May 2024. You are in a year-long cycle of changing your environment, changing your mind, changing your relationship with siblings, and like maybe rethinking your schedule, rethinking your involvement and your neighborhood, involvement with community and your neighborhood. So you're sort of upgrading your everyday life, starting with your mind, ending with the way what you drive, right? Your car or your everyday sort of environment. And so the new moon in the 10th house is all about perhaps upgrading your career. So it could be suggestive of you figuring out a new way, getting inspired about something. There's a square to Neptune in the 1st house, getting inspired about new professional beginnings. Sort of the fire gets lit up within you. But the square to Neptune is, there's a be careful type of warning that comes with the square to Neptune, right? Like the square to Neptune could suggest that you are being too idealistic. Maybe you have this perfect vision, but you're not staying grounded and you're not realizing everything that is required, right? Like the square to Neptune could be indicative that this new beginning will require you to sacrifice something, like sacrifice a part of yourself, sacrifice your time with family, or sacrifice your just maybe health on some level, right? So make sure you're not just getting too like overly excited about a new professional possibility and forgetting the costs involved and the taxing energy it might have on you. There might also be, the square to Neptune might also be this energy of like wanting to let go of something, right? Like wanting to release perhaps an unhealthy dynamic in the professional realm and wanting to rethink what you do professionally. Yeah, it's interesting because it's both, I feel like it's both inspiration and it's both sacrifice, and you just got to make sure you're getting the levels right. Perhaps you're looking for ways to show up in the world as like a teacher or a guide or a person that inspires other people. And in the process, you are needing to examine your own beliefs and your own philosophies, and like even your own self-defeating beliefs, right? Like, do you doubt yourself as a teacher? Do you doubt your own kind of potential? Do you doubt your own ability to reach your dreams? And so the square to Neptune is calling you to actually let go of some of that, right? Like let go of self-doubt. But make sure you're not losing yourself in the brand new idea, because like, you know, 10th house, you're ignited, inspired. The square to Neptune is like, yeah, but you have to work 80 hours every week, and you're like, I can do it because I'm passionate. But then like, don't do that. Please let me know how this resonates down below. Thank you for watching. Thank you for being here. We're wrapping up the year, and I am going to, I'm going to try to kind of post more videos about 2024. If anybody has any suggestions, any ideas, let me know. And do check out my 2024 planner. You will not regret getting it, as it could be a beautiful tool for your year to come. Thank you. I'll talk to you soon.